How's it going, guys? This is Soul Cinched here, and welcome to my review for episode 3. Without wasting any time, let's get straight into the fights. First match of the night, we had Death Roll versus Cobalt. Death Roll looks basically the same as it did a few years ago when it competed, and they didn't have much of a ground game, while Cobalt had absolutely no trouble getting up underneath him and getting a lot of nasty hits in, and they got a very convincing KO. Next fight is Claw Viper versus Ominous, and if Claw Viper continues on the track that it looked in this fight, they could go very far. They might be the fastest robot in Battlebots, and Ominous didn't really even do anything wrong. They were just overwhelmed from the get-go. Claw Viper was not giving them any time to spin up. They were not letting them get any sort of room. Claw Viper was picking them up, ramming them into the walls, ramming them into the screws, flipping them over. And at some points, Claw Viper was even using itself as a battering ram. And eventually they got them flipped over on their side, and they were unable to self-right, and Claw Viper got the KO. Next fight was Copperhead versus Bloodsport. Very early on into the match, both robots had a glancing blow that sent both of them careening in opposite directions. Copperhead came out mostly fine. Bloodsport was destroyed. Bloodsport is a brand new robot this year. They have a bigger weapon motor that they had to mount it on top of the robot, similar to how Ice Wave had their engine mounted on top of the robot. And with it being completely new, it's expected that there could be some teething issues, but this was shocking. Like, it was just one glancing blow, and it broke their self-rider in air, and the robot would look just completely trashed and was on fire. If they can't get their reliability or durability down, they could be looking at a pretty bad season. And Copperhead, I'd say it's too early to tell, since it was kind of like one shot sent both robots flying across the battle box, and they came out looking fine. So we'll just have to see what Copperhead does in the future. It does seem to be hitting as hard as ever, though, so that's a plus. Third fight was Lockjaw versus Malice. This fight went the full 3 minutes. They both traded some back and forth blows. Malice held up pretty well. Their weapon did go down, which is an issue that they've had these past 2 seasons. And I wonder if the fact that they have essentially what is a vertical spinner flipped horizontally, if that might be causing some of their weapon reliability issues. It did hold up better in this fight than it has. Because it looks like it just straight up was being destroyed by Lockjaw's vertical spinner. Lockjaw looked pretty good in this fight, however, toward the end they were smoking and their weapon was not working at full capacity. So we'll have to watch both of these robots as they go on and see how they progress throughout the season. And next was Lucky versus Triton. Triton being a rookie robot by the team that made Deep Six. And they basically were not allowed to continue competing with Deep Six because it was too damaging to the arena. So they flipped it on its side and made Tombstone on steroids. Lucky is very durable this year. They had the anti-horizontal wedge that everyone has nowadays that could just kind of glance Triton's blows. And they got some pretty good flips in, eventually getting them flipped onto their side. And they were unable to self-right from that, and Lucky got the KO. Triton didn't look particularly bad. Their driving had some driving errors, and just inexperienced driving is what really hurt them. And the fact that Lucky was just very durable and had the anti-horizontal wedge. And next was Scorpios versus Jackpot. Very early on into the match, Scorpios was able to flip Jackpot over, and their self-rider was unable to get them flipped back, and Scorpios only landed like 1 or 2 minor shots, and they were unable to self-right, went up in smoke, and caught on fire. This is the first regular season loss that Jackpot has had, and Scorpios is looking pretty good this year. And then finally, for the main event, we had Hydra versus Rotator. Now, I mentioned in my predictions that whoever got the first big hit was going to win this match. Rotators struggled to get around the size of Hydra. Hydra's driving looked on point. So basically, all that happened is Hydra kept getting underneath Rotator and flipping them around, eventually getting them kind of teeter-tottered against the wall, and Rotator lost by knockout. Yeah, Hydra looked very good. Hydra was getting a lot of flips in. Their driving was pretty good, unlike last season. And I think the highest flip that Jake got in this match was 14 feet. So, yeah, Hydra is looking a lot better than it did last season. And Rotator, we'll have to see what it does from here. Didn't look particularly bad. Like I said, Hydra just got that one good shot in, and that was kind of it. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up this review. I kind of sped through it because I've been dealing with a lot and hadn't had a lot of time. So, just kind of sped through this one. I apologize. But, yeah, peace.